close to the camera.
See, look,
he's 5 pounds right now.
We're here at the media day for the 2021 Bass Master Classic on Lake Roberts.
this is a tank. Look at the size of this thing.
Progress we've made so far on our Hobie PA14.
Got it wired up for 12 volt right now.
We got the B127.
That money!
That's a monster!
Got one. Took him long enough, didn't it? He knows. You know that's your outro. I know, but I mean, like, I was waiting on you because, like, you just kind of put me on the spot and it's like it didn't flow. Right?
Whatever. All right, guys. Guys, I want to thank y'all for tuning in to OneObjective tonight. We got a really good show lined up for you. Finally got a guest on. You know, last couple times we ain't been able to really. We've been so busy, we ain't been able to really schedule a guest. And when I did do a guest, I wanted to do something different than, you know, the same guys that you see on all the podcasts. You know, I mean, they're great guys. They're great guests. I'm not knocking it whatsoever. I just wanted a different story. I wanted a different person on to talk about it. So, but we're excited about tonight's show. I want to tell all you guys that are just tuning in, we have been experiencing we switched over to a different platform when it comes to our podcasts and how they're getting distributed and all that stuff. And for some reason, everything else went fine except for iTunes. We're fighting with that. If you guys, I guess, and if you're on iTunes, you ain't listening to the show right now, but if you guys want to go back and listen to it later, you can check it out on, iHeartRadio and Stitcher and all the other platforms. It went on all the other platforms except iTunes. So we're working on that. We're trying to get it done, but who knows how that's going to go. So we might end up just resubmitting the show. So if you do have it saved to your you know, your downloads or your playlist, you might have to go in and find the new one and do that. So that's all I can think of. But we got everybody tuning in. I want to thank all you guys. If you are tuning in on Facebook, please share it on iTunes. I mean, if you're on YouTube, please hit the thumbs up button. Let's get this thing out there and you know, get this out there in the social media world. Before we get going, man, Chris, how you doing tonight, man? We ain't been on here and talking a while. We actually didn't even talk on the phone that much. Like, we've been just busy.
Yeah, just doing the old usual stuff.
Yeah, you're adulting now. You're a married man. You got your house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've been painting the garage for what, a day now, 2 days?
I painted the front and back yesterday. So
yeah. So I mean, you getting the honey-do list going.
Yeah, I'm doing it before it gets cold. Then I'll do stuff inside.
That's right. That's exactly right. So
yeah, we
ain't been able to do no fishing. I mean, I haven't been able to take you out, and me and you ain't been able to get out together. So I've been fishing. With the family, but it's me and you got to get out in a new boat, man.
Oh yeah,
we got to get out there.
I ain't got to see it yet.
I know it. That's what I'm saying. We ain't been down here. We might have to change that next weekend.
Yeah.
You guys.
Well, next weekend I'm going on vacation.
Boo.
Well, no, wait a minute. I'm not going to the following Wednesday, so I'm free next weekend. Believe it or not.
All right.
So we'll have to make something. We'll have to plan something. The weekend after that.
That's right. We got to make something happen. So,
we'll make it happen.
So, but I mean, it's been busy, just family time. I ended up having freaking COVID. Last week I think it was.
Yeah.
Week before, one of the two. You know, everything went okay with that except for the sore throat. That was hell. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like
That's always the worst, I think.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't strep throat though. You know, it was just my throat was free. I couldn't hardly swallow water, man. It was sore.
That's the worst.
Yeah. So, anyways, got over that, and now we just been. I've been taking the family out in the boat. I don't know, Chris. I don't know if you was able to get the picture shared. If you haven't, you can go on social media, Facebook, and Instagram.
It won't let me do it like it puts it on the background.
I got you.
I'm sure there's a way to do it another way, but I don't.
Yeah, we ain't figured it out yet. That's all right.
We can get real primitive with it and do this right here.
Yeah. There we go. Hey, you can say it a little bit. There you go. Yeah. So my son caught his PB. It ain't a bass. It's a striper though, but that's the biggest fish that he's caught, and it was crazy. Like, you know, I was telling Chris this before the show got going is, we were out fishing some shoals, and Matthew looks across. He's like, because he's never seen schooling fish like that. And he was like, "What is that?" And I look, and there's fish, man. They're just just nonstop popping. And I'm like, that's like 60 foot of water right there, So I just fire gas my rope. We shoot over, they go down, and then I'm scanning around with live scope. I see a little bit here and there, wasn't nothing. And then all of a sudden, man, I ain't lying, like right next to the boat, just about a cast, about a half a cast. They come up. He throws a spinner bait. I throw a jerk bait, and whichever one was gonna get hooked, I was giving it to them, and they loaded up on that daggone jerk bait. It was crazy, man. But on 10-pound tests on a jerk bait with a big striper, it was a fun little battle for him. So he's hooked. He's all ready to go out there this morning. Like, we got out of church. He's like, "All right, we're going to the lake." I'm like, "Man, I got to mow. Like, we got a show tonight. Like, we can't go today, man." But I'd love to. Yeah. So anyways, we had a good time. It's the first time he's seen live scope, and he watched me catch a smallmouth on a largemouth off of it. So now he's like, that's his jam right there. You know how these kids are now. They video gaming. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah,
that's his jam, and he's all about it. So he wants to learn it and all that. So I don't know. We're going to see how it goes and see if he's been getting more interested into fishing. My daughter is, but, she's at that age where she wants to do a little bit and then play or, swim or whatever. So anyways, we're getting into it. But tonight's show it's going to be a good one, guys. We're going to be talking about giant bass. We're going to be talking about big baits, stuff like this. Now this, he said, I thought dirt bike was jam. That's his jam too. But being on the water, my kid's a water kid. Like, he just loves it, like that's his deal. So I don't think he's into dirt bike racing like he was into kart racing. Just because dirt bike racing is takes a little more aggressive. It's got to be a little more aggressive with it. You know what I mean? So, and time and all that. So, but he loves riding his dirt bike, but he's loving, got Brittany in here. What's up, Brittany? But anyways, we're going to be talking glide baits. Now, this is the Trace from 6 Cents. This is, this one fits in the palm of your hand. It's not the big bait like you see, like we're going to have with Byron here in a minute talking about. I mean, this Byron has caught the other day. I looked at his post, and he caught like 30-pound bag of bass, he is just, I've had conversations because Byron is with Missile. He works for Missile Baits. He's a sales rep. I guess that's his main title. And what's wrong?
We lost Byron.
We lost him. All right. Well, see if he'll click the link again and see if we can get him in there. But we deal with him when we buy our missile baits and all that stuff to stock in our store. If you want to go check it out, OneObjective.com. Just want to add that in there, that little plug. But anyways, he helps us, when we're doing our orders and all that stuff. And, we'll get on and get to talking about glide baits and talking about different baits. And these baits are really hard to get. A lot of these baits are really hard to get. Hold on, let me tell him.
If it won't work, I'll send him another one.
But they're really hard to get. Some of these baits are hundreds of dollars. I'm not talking like $125. I'm talking anywhere between $400, $500, $600, $700. There's some of them baits that we've seen. I don't know if Byron's got any.
One bait?
Yeah. That are,
so you can get it, so you can lose it the first time you throw it in a tree?
I mean, that's the scary part about it, man, is like, the what ifs. I mean, if you watch Chris Zaldane's YouTube, channel, I mean, in one day he lost, I think those baits are $250, $300 that he was throwing, and was trying to boat flip a bass and lost the bait. Like it just broke off. And it was one other time one broke off, and I mean, man, I would probably throw up in the water. I'd be chumming the water with that much money out there. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, I got baits where I paid $75 for that. There's times you're like, oh God, when it hits a rock, you're like, oh God, like I'm about to lose this bait. To throw hundreds of dollars out there, that's really, really scary. So, You can send him another link if you want to, Chris. I don't know
All
if
right,
he's tried to click on it or not.
I'll send it over.
I'm gonna tell him you'll send him another one. But anyways, so it's it's a lot of money wrapped up in these glide baits. So there's a lot of money wrapped up in the setup. So that's what I want to get Byron on here, and we're going to talk about setups, what's involved with throwing these baits. I mean, like I say, you got a lot of money on the end. You want to make sure you got the right rod to give the right action, the right line to give the right action, and also the gear ratio. So got some 6-inch mag drafts on the way. I love the mag draft. I've caught some good fish with it. Chris has been with me when I caught a good one.
Yeah.
At Smith. I've learned with the mag draft what kind of fish, what caliber fish are in that area. You don't always get the bite, off of them. You get a lot of followers. So I've seen some monster fish chasing that bait around. No, I don't get the bite. I've done follow-up bait. You throw a Cinco, you throw a jig, you throw whatever in there, maybe a smaller swim bait. But I've also lost I know it was my personal best under a dock at Smith Mountain Lake. I mean, I'm talking.
He's back.
All right, we got Byron. back. Let's go ahead and get Byron in before we lose him again.
Man, I don't my phone. Let me
He's pushing buttons again, wouldn't you?
yeah.
As we get Byron all set up here.
Let me my laptop went dark.
Oh. We're getting Byron all set up here. You take your time and you get all set up, man. We're getting y'all in here, and I just kind of leading into talking about you a little bit and talking about how expensive these baits are and how important the setup is, and it's so much involved with throwing these high end baits. And I was kind of going over Chris Zaldane, and talking about the money he's lost in tournaments.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Throwing those big baits and trying to boat flip a big 6-7 pounder or something. I mean, it's there you go. I think you got it there.
There we go.
Yeah, we got you now.
Cool. It's my first time.
Yeah, he's a newbie. He's a rookie.
Yeah.
So Byron, let's talk a little bit about what you do first with missile baits. I was telling him a little bit about that before. So everybody kind of gets to know your background and who you are.
Yeah. So I've been in the tackle industry for 18 years now. Started out working for Gambler Lures out of Florida, and resigned there in 2018 when John Cruz offered me a job. And Missile's been awesome.
Yeah.
But director of sales at Missile, and since 2018. But yeah, it's a blast, man.
We've had a good time working with you guys. I always love when we go to ICAST or the Classic and hang out with you guys at the booth for a while. We always make it over about 3 or 4 times a day. We're trying to get away, just go over and hang out with you guys for a little while. And
yeah.
Always have a good time. Love seeing the new stuff that you got. You guys got some cool stuff in the works. I don't want to say too much because I don't know what can be revealed yet.
We've got the Chunky D coming out in November. We kind of unveiled that at ICAST this year. But
yeah.
It'll be more of a full-size chunk or a standalone bait for, swing head, flipping, pitching, Tokyo rig / full-size jig chunk.
Yeah. I love the looks of that bait. I think that's going to be a good seller. And then y'all also working with RoboWorm on a bait that y'all have too as well.
Yeah. John designed a new shape 6-inch straight tail, and because we were lacking in the trick worm, finesse worm kind of area, and so who better than to pour that for you than Robo? So
yeah.
RoboWorm is pouring it for us the way they do best.
Yep.
In 12 Missile exclusive colors.
Yeah. And there's some really great looking colors, really great looking baits. I got about 5 or 6 of them now, different colors. Just want to try them out. And I've caught, like I said, I caught my smallmouth and caught my largemouth off of it yesterday out on the lake. And
okay.
I love it. I love it so far. But yeah, like I say, y'all got some good stuff coming that are going to be out here soon. Can't wait to get my hands on some of it. We couldn't make iCast this year to get any videos out there on it, but just, we was following along with iCast and Missile and checking out and everything. And I'm super excited to get that. But kind of getting away from that, let's get to the big baits. Let's get to the big stuff, not the small little, let's catch some 2-pounders or 3-pounders. You know what I mean? Let's just talk about some 8s and 10s. What has got you hooked? What got you hooked on getting into this whole glide bait phenomenon right now that's going on, these big swim baits?
So, gosh, it was probably 3-4 years ago. Kind of, I bought an S-Waver and started, tactical bassing, watching their stuff. And did that and had the essential swim bait starter kit that everybody gets with the S-Wavers and the Savage gear and the Dobbins Fury and,
Yeah.
And then I had some success with it over the fall and the winter, and then spring got here and I sold all that stuff and started, just ledge fishing, doing the normal thing. Well, then winter rolls around the next year. And I'm like, man, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right, So I got the Dobbins Champion and kind of upgraded there. I'd say that was about 3 years ago. And since then, man, it's been all downhill, like full rabbit hole.
Yeah.
It's pretty well all I want to do.
I mean, do you take a drop shot and a shaky head or a jig or anything with you anymore? Or is it all just glide baits?
It depends where I'm going. So I used to tournament fish when I was in Florida, and when I moved up here, I'd sold the boat I had and really got out of tournament fishing. So when I got back into fishing, it was more or less for fun. And now, I can fish where I want to fish. So if I want to go, fish Pickwick or the Tennessee River, something like that, I'll bring everything.
Yeah.
Anymore, I'll go where I know the fish are bigger and just throw swim baits.
Yeah.
So
And
go ahead.
When you get into that, how many days do you go where you don't catch nothing? You know what I mean?
Last weekend I caught 1 2-pounder on a flutter spoon. And just because I had a flutter spoon in the boat.
Yeah.
Otherwise that would have been a 0.
Yeah. So, these a lot of times, musky fishing, it just kind of reminds me of musky fishing for me. Cause when I throw these glide baits or I throw a mag draft, I'll catch a few, but I'll see a lot of followers. You know what I mean? Do you see that more or have you got it to where you know how to work it to get them to hit more? Do you still get a lot of follows?
You'll see them follow. In my mind, there is a way to get that fish to eat. You might need to speed up your retrieve. You might need to, either way, you got to force that fish to make a choice. You know what I mean? So if he's following it, you can bump it where it's trying to get away, or bump it real hard, spin it around and have it look at them. Or there's days they just don't eat.
Yeah.
But you might throw a little smaller bait or go bigger. Our water here, Smith Mountain's a lot clearer than what we deal with around here. So I don't see a ton of followers like that.
Yeah.
In the water now, you see them on live scope, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, that's something I've been with the new boat I got. That's something I've been playing with now because we got the 12-inch screen up front. You know what I mean? On my kayak, I got a 9.
Yeah.
So you're kind of like, what is that, a fish there? You can still see, but it ain't like the 12. And now that I got that on there, and my son, he just caught a big striper this weekend. He's fell in love because the kids love video game fishing, so he's fallen in love with this live scope thing. This is fishing to him now. To me, I like it, but in a way too, I'm kind of like, yeah, man. People are gonna hate to watch this kind of video content, but some people do like it. But it's fishing, man. And when I go out there, I want to catch fish. You know what I mean? So like, whether it's, some people say it ain't fair, some say it ain't. If I got it, I want to use it.
I'm not above it at all. So.
Yeah. And I mean, if you want to catch your PB, there you go. I mean, that helps you with it. I'm not going to say it catches you.
I'm trophy hunting. So any tool that's available that would help me do that, I'm for it.
Yeah. So let's get it. You were talking a little before we get too off track here. We're talking about glide baits and we're talking about swim baits. Now, when do you make that change when you say, okay, I need to throw something like a mag draft or a Baco? So I got one of the Baco burritos here.
Yeah.
Or when do you go to a soft bait or do you go to a hard bait? There you go.
I tell you, I've got them all rigged up. So I keep 7 swim bait rods in the boat if I'm swim bait fishing. There's a rod for the soft baits like the burrito. So it's more or less a system depending on, just like anything else. I mean, you've got your drop shot, your shaky head, your cranking rod, your chatterbait. I mean, when would you pick one of those,
Yeah.
Top water. Depending on where the fish are at in the column or how active they are, the soft baits, if they're on the bottom or feeding on the bottom, you'll throw your soft baits. And that could be the burrito. I really like the Working Class Zero Citizen, and I've added the flashy swim for that. I caught them really good on these this summer, offshore points and brush piles and stuff like that when they weren't chasing.
Yeah.
That's the Battle Shad there.
Oh man, that looks really good too.
Yeah, and that's a 10-aught beast in there. It's got the crush.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, same thing as a Citizen. I mean, there's an air pocket in there. Mike Gilbert did an excellent job on these.
And those baits are hard to get.
They're very hard to get.
Yeah.
So I keep a soft bait rigged up, something for the bottom, and then I'll do a line through a lot of times. Now in the winter, the line throughs work a little better. I'm still a fan of the old school Ospreys. And this interchanges with the mag draft.
Oh yeah.
But that's an old school Osprey, 7-inch. And then there's a jig hook version that you could creep on the bottom. And then the Smash Tech is another one, the Headhunter.
Mm.
So my PB came on this bait, 10-pound, 11-ounce. And that's the Smash Tech Headhunter.
Golly. I love that.
Plastic, but yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that looks real good.
Had a 39 pounds, 13 ounces best 5 that day with a 10-11. In Tennessee.
Yeah.
So, and that you have a couple days like that, and that's all you're going to want to do.
Yeah. All of a sudden you're hooked. It's just,
Yeah. Yep. So to the system, you've got your soft baits, you got your hard baits. I swap it up. If they're feeding mid-column, you could throw a crank down. The Clash 9 is an awesome bait for that. The Tiny Clash is too.
Yeah.
Got the interchangeable lips. You can do the stock lip, a short lip, a deep lip. Just think massive crankbait. That bait sees a lot of action. And then here's a phony crank down.
Oh man.
Like, that bait will get down to 13 feet on 20-pound fluoro. But that's if they're a little deeper. Now you do have the option to count down. Like lately, that's the bull shad.
That one's tore up.
What's that?
That one looks like it's caught some fish.
It's been well loved on. Those fish I caught yesterday, majority of them come on that. And those two baits, the Clash 9 and the bull shad, but they were set up in brush piles in 8 to 10 foot. So they wouldn't come up for a glide. so you could crank down to them, or I'll sink this bull shad down to them right above the brush pile, and you can reel it up to them and then burn it, and they'll smoke it.
Golly.
But it's more of a reaction deal, you know.
Yeah.
They're not feeding per se, but you can make them react.
Yeah, they just gonna come up here and smack it real hard.
Yeah.
Now, on a bait like that, do you get them where they choke it? Like they, I mean, or is it just kind of like, say, the reaction bite where they kind of like a crankbait, they'll have half of it in their face? I mean, have you had any really choking baits?
The glide baits, yes. And even the clash, you know, I mean, certain times of year. Right now, you know, in the late summer, early fall, I'd still call it late summer. It's been more of a reaction deal. So, I mean, the bait's moving a lot faster. Like I said, you count that down. You wait 10 minutes to get it down there and reel it up to them and then burn it.
Yeah.
And, you know, you ski them to the boat at that point. Now, in the fall and the winter, when they're feeding, when they're more oriented on bait, in live scope, you can tell. You know, you find the bait, you'll find the bass somewhere around there. And you could see the fish oriented up. And if they're feeding higher in the column, that's when I'll throw the glide bait right under the surface.
Yeah.
In the winter, that one's been well loved too. But at depths 250, open water, you know, if you see 4 or 5 fish on the live scope, you fire that out there, one of them's eating it.
Golly.
But in the glides, you can get lost in glide baits. I mean, you got your multi-joint, you got your crank downs, you got your soft baits, your glide baits. The glides can get crazy. Those are the most expensive ones for me. And but they're also the coolest, you know. I mean, you can count those down. Acquiring them is half the battle, you know.
Yeah. You know, like you'll see like on some of these guys, like I can't even think of a name right off the top of my head for some reason, but you see some of these guys like the working class zero stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He'll do a post like such and such time I'm gonna release them, you know, on Instagram or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, man, it's like you can't even get on there fast enough sometimes.
Now, if you take the time to fill out your PayPal info after you've added it to the cart, they're gone.
Yeah.
Like you got to get there early, put a sticker in the cart, go through the checkout process, then back up, add it, and go.
Somebody says, "Can we get some of these baits listed in the video description?" Yes, I'll put some. I'll put some names down there on some of these baits that you know that Byron's showing today. Like say, and like what we're talking about right now, they're really hard to get. You got to be on your toes.
Very hard to get. Yeah,
and I mean, some of these baits you're looking at. I mean, for instance, what's one of your most expensive baits that you got sitting right there?
So that's one of the more expensive one. That's the Hogfather from Tater Hog.
Yeah, that's like the one Chris Zaldane loves to throw a lot.
That's the bait. Yeah.
Yep.
So that you can buy these from Tater Hog on his website. They're $275.
Yeah.
Tie a good knot. And
really good knot.
A really good knot. Now this HPH, you can get these from HPH for $150, but the wait time is like 18 months.
Holy moly!
And I'm not that patient, so
yeah.
I've got $250 in that.
Just trying to find somebody that's selling a used one, or
just find somebody to sell a used one. And like I've got a buddy of mine that's still waiting on a couple HPHs for $150 a piece. I paid $250 and got it in 3 days, and have caught I don't know how many fish on it, or will in that 18-month amount of time. You know, so like, what's that worth to you? So
yeah, how bad do you want to use it?
Yeah. So, but if I lost this, I don't know that I could replace it immediately, which is part of this whole thing too.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, right setup, not saying it still happens. Crap still happens. You still can lose. I mean, like I say, I was talking about Chris Zaldane before we got on here in one of his videos. He lost 2 of them dudes.
Oh, yeah.
In one event, you know? Yep. And I'm sure Chris might be paying extra money to get him to rush some of them things. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, yeah.
I know how some of these guys are, some of these pros, like they want to bait. And this time, hey man, I'll pay this. You know what I mean? Like I've heard stories of that. So,
the right setup, like you say, is extremely important. I'm not throwing any of these baits on a flipping rod. I promise. I've recently switched over to Leviathan for my swim bait rods. And I mean, they are tailor-made, custom for swim baits. And he's got a soft bait rod, which is extremely stiff, but parabolic in the right places. You can cast further, you can crack them, and then ski them to the boat.
Yeah.
Now the glide bait rods, the Omegas, it took a little bit getting used to for me because they're so parabolic. But once you figure that out, it's an adjustment like anything, but you can cast further because the rod is loading up and projecting the bait. And so it's easier to cast. And once you hook up the rod, it like turns into a different rod. The whole thing loads, and if that fish surges or bumps, the rod goes with it. So you're not pulling them hooks out.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a cranking rod. I mean, on a bigger scale. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You could say that. Yeah.
So you want something soft on a crankbait. You know what I mean? Depending on what you're throwing.
Yep. But yet have the ass in there to throw a 2 to 8 ounce bait.
Yeah. Now, what are you looking at line? I mean, do you stay floor or you go braid or?
I'm a fluoro guy. I don't want the extra connection knot in there.
Yeah.
And I don't want to hear it go through my guides all day.
Yeah.
So I run, I've played around with Sunline. Right now I'm throwing Seagar and VizX. And the biggest I throw now is 20.
Oh, wow. So you ain't throwing much, you know what I mean? Like that's what guys flip with, you know what I mean? 20 pounds.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Like the Depths 250, if you throw 25-pound fluoro on there, it'll kill the action.
Really?
Like talking to Matt from Optimum or Depths, Matt Pano, like this bait was designed to be thrown on 20-pound test or smaller.
Yeah.
I'm not going smaller, but
yeah.
20's good.
Yeah. And what kind of when it comes to reel setup and all that, I see some of these guys like on YouTube throwing these monster reels, and someone got these big cranking handles, and
you could get as fancy as you want, but so like this is the Alpha soft bait rod, the Leviathan, but that's a Tatula 300. And it comes out of the box. I think they retail for what, $279, $260.
Yeah.
But it comes out of the box with the bigger knobs, bigger handle. It's wider, and it holds plenty of line for what I do. Now, I've had reels in the past and rods like a 400 Tatula or Tranks, the Tranks, and for me it's unnecessary. I was trying to throw a Roman-made mother with it, and I deemed that bait a little too big for where I'm at.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen Milliken. I watch Milliken fishing sometimes, and he'll throw them. What are them things, like 15 inches long?
Yeah, well, I think it's 11 or 12, but it weighs 11 ounces.
Yeah, something like it's a huge bait.
But he's in Texas. If I lived in Texas or California, I'd still have one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the daggone fish that you're catching, it seems like they would probably eat it pretty well.
They would, but it's a $400 bait that I'm going to throw at 1 or 2 lakes, maybe 10 casts a year.
Yeah. Sell that and buy you 2 more other baits.
That would buy me 2 or 3 other baits. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly how that got sold.
Now, have you had any heartbreak moments yet? Like where you lose one of them good ones?
I've lost a Depths 250 because of the Tranks power handle. If that thing is not oriented forward and you go to cast, the weight of the handle can engage the reel.
Oh gosh.
And your bait will go.
Yeah.
And they don't float. That was the first one I lost. the second, I must have had a bad batch of line that I won't mention. But I lost an HPH. That one hurt. I lost a bull shad glide, and almost lost a KGB Legend, but was able to snag it when the line broke.
Good gosh.
Yeah. To date, I've lost 3 baits for about $700.
Yeah.
It's not cool.
No, that's a makes for a bad day on the water. You know what I mean? Especially if you don't catch nothing, and then you lose your bait too.
But yeah, it's never fun. So I mean, I tie San Diego Jam. I've been using the Seagar and VizX, and I've got the right rods. So now I will throw a 200 size reel as well on the smaller. So like that's my TK, my Tiny Clash, or my smaller swim baits. I've repainted that one, but that's an ABT Suicide Shad.
Oh man,
that's not a big bait, you know.
Yeah,
but you can see the teeth all over that. But they chew that, you know. So I mean, that's the Omega. They've got the medium heavy, the extra heavy, and then the double X heavy. And it's all based on weight, you know, the weight ratings, but they're pretty well spot on.
Yeah. Yeah. That's when it comes down to like your soft baits, you know, we talk when you throw them and this and that, but like, do you change up much with your line on your softer swim baits, or do you kind of keep it kind of basic across the board on that? I mean, we've talked about rod and, you know, a little extra action. The reason why you want that is because you're driving that big hook through the bait. You know, if people ain't listening, that's why you want that little bit heavier action rod, but parabolic too. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But, and you don't want to fight them. Like when you get to throwing these big heavy baits, like even the Citizen weighs 2 ounces.
Yeah.
You know, but you gotta penetrate that, and then you still don't want to fight them. So like you want to crack them, and then ski them to the boat if you have to.
Gotcha.
You know, as soon as you start playing that fish, especially with these treble hook baits, as soon as you start playing them and fighting them and jumping them, it'll break your heart.
Oh yeah, yeah. You'll have that fish story where you lost that big one. Now, I mean, like a bait like that. I mean, like say you're talking about the other glide baits and line differences. If you go heavier on one of those soft baits, does it change up the action of that bait as well?
I was fishing 25 on the soft baits on the bottom, and I wasn't getting as many bites as I thought I should be, and so I downsized to 20, and I've been getting more bites. And I don't feel like I'm not breaking. I wasn't breaking off at 25, and I hadn't broke off at 20.
Yeah.
The biggest thing's just retie. When you catch one, retie. I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, it's cheap insurance.
Oh yeah. You know, I've talked to a couple, actually John Cruz. I've asked John Cruz this question years ago. And a couple other guys, you know, what is the biggest mistake that you see weekend fishermen make? You know what I mean? And their biggest thing was not retying enough.
Yeah.
That was one of their first answers. So definitely with those kind of baits, you know what I mean? Retying a lot.
Yep. And I keep a net, you know, I keep a net handy just because I don't want to be fumbling with them. You know, I grab the net, I'll ski them right into the net. You know, there's no shame in that.
Yeah. Heck no, man. You want to get your PB in the boat, take some pictures.
That's right.
You don't want to be fighting them things and losing them and losing baits. And it's too much. But you know, kind of getting into this, I mean, do you fish all winter long? I mean, is there a point where you're like, it's too cold, I'm not going to throw this bait? Or is that something you throw all winter long?
No, my go time is November through March.
When they're big and fat.
They're big and fat, and they're feeding.
Yeah. Yeah.
The biggest, like, live scope to me, you know, historically you think, you know, it's winter, it's cold, water temps, you know, 39, 40 degrees. You got to throw a Huddleston real slow, creep it on the bottom. They're not going to be active. Man, you drop that trolling motor down with the live scope and you see them just shad. They're running through shad, schooling, going nuts, you know.
Live scope has changed the game. You know, we were talking about this before the show. Live scope has changed the game so much to understanding fish now. Like we're always been told, like I know my dad and not knocking my dad because that's how he fished. You know, wintertime hits, jigs, jigging spoons, fishing the bottom, dragging stuff slow. And now, like,
Yeah.
I mean, you see how they react to different stuff now that you're kind of like, I think, you know, I mean, that stuff works, but you could do so much more and cover more water now.
Well, and you could play with that individual fish's mood.
Yeah.
Like see it, cast to it, and watch how it responds and know if you need to speed it up or slow it down or, you know, twitch it more. Or,
Yeah.
you know, it's, and you can see how they're set up and kind of know what to throw.
Yeah.
You know?
Like you was talking about earlier, you can actually see them kind of pointing up, knowing where they're looking, where they're facing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And something I've learned with live scope, and I don't know if it's, you know, I have limited experience with it. Like we've been using it mainly. This is our first year that we've had it for 2 years now, maybe 3 years.
I've had it for a year and a half.
But the thing is, we had it. We never cut it on Harley. We go out there and we're like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. You know, my set. It's all in your setup with
It's
it.
this,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
The settings are wildly important.
Yeah. And after we talked with Bass Tank, we've talked with them guys a couple of times and like spot on, man. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we're not, you know, they don't endorse, we're not affiliated with them or nothing like that. But I will say their customer service so far has been great.
Mhm.
When coming to set up, and they got some good videos out there for it, for that. Well, we got a question here. It says, what's your recommendation for rod reel line setup for a 6-inch mag draft or someone just getting started swim bait fishing from a kayak?
And so a 6-inch mag draft, I actually sold all mine to somebody on Smith Mountain Lake. For a 6-inch mag draft, you don't need that big of a rod. I mean, I would say like a heavy spinnerbait rod. I would throw my mag drafts on a Dobbins Champion 735, which is like a heavy spinnerbait kind of light worm rod, and then 15-pound fluoro.
Yeah,
like that's all you need with a 6-inch mag draft, and throw it the same places you would a spinnerbait.
Yep.
You know, and it'll tell you, you know, how fast it wants to be reeled. If you do it too fast, it'll blow out, you know. But
Yeah.
you'll figure that out. But yeah, 15-pound fluoro on a heavy spinnerbait rod.
And that's it. If you get a chance, go back and check out our Chris Zaldane show. We had Chris Zaldane on, and he went like in depth because it's the same deal. We was talking about 20-pound tests. You know what I mean? Like using 20-pound tests. He's like, it's too much. You need to go down to 15.
Yep.
That's too much for that. You know, and because you know you're not spending a whole lot of money on them. I mean, compared to other baits, you know what I mean? It's a pretty cheap swim bait.
But it kills the
$13,
action.
$15.
Like,
yeah.
It kills the action of the bait.
Yep. And just a good steady retrieving, like Byron said. I mean, for me, I went out there for a while and just casting up on a bank where I could see it until I figured out like the reaction. I mean, what I need to do to get that bait to work right. And after that, I love that bait. It's really good on Smith Mountain. I love skipping it under docks. Like it is freaking awesome to skip that bait way up under. It skips so good. Not that I would ever probably throw any of them glide bait. I would try, but I know what's gonna happen. I've done busted a mega bass jerk bait doing stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I don't fish a lot of docks around here.
yeah. You got all the good natural stuff.
Yeah.
Smith Mountain, we got that, but it's like it always seems like the thing with Smith Mountain, like whoever fishes the most docks is gonna catch them. You know what I mean? Like, so you always feel like you're running 100 million docks. You know what I mean? This is the man that got me addicted to glide baits and big swim baits. Thanks a lot, Byron. I have way less money now.
Sorry.
They're following you on social media, man. They see your big fish.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's my sister.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Mom will be there soon.
But, I mean, you know, when it comes down to, you know, we talked earlier, when it comes down to just getting into the glide bait market, you know what I mean? Let's say these guys don't want to go out and spend $150 right off. your budget's anywhere between, let's say, 30 to 75, in a smaller range, we was talking earlier. I got a trace right here. This is a 6-cent trace, which is
Yep.
not a bad bait. I've been throwing them a little bit, but first, before we get into that, what makes $100, $200 bait better than, let's say, a $35 bait?
To me, because I started with the S waivers, what would be equivalent to the trace. They didn't have those a couple years back. That's a newer bait, but I started with all that, and you can catch fish, but they're seeing more of that. And it's once you get into the custom stuff and throw it, then you start to realize, like, man, that thing, it just the smoothness of it in the water, the way it glides, or the paint. That's a Fat Dunk by Black Talon. And Keith Thomas makes these by hand. So the fat one, that's pretty wide, but that's his theory behind this kind of tail. And it's a lot softer tail than the paintbrush, like on the Bucas. But his theory is when they come up behind that, it'll crush. If the bristles are too stiff, it can shoot it out. If they come up behind it and hit it, it'll shoot it out. So he's put all the science and thought into that. And, they're handmade in his shop, hand-tuned, painted, you name it. So that's why these baits cost a little more. And the other baits are not. They might be injection molded. There might be some imperfections. They're still great baits, and they'll get the job done. And I would recommend anybody starting out on that budget to get a couple of S waivers.
Yeah.
You could do the Mega Bass Ice Slide. I had a couple of those. I had some of the Gancraft. I'll tell you my favorite budget bait, I would say, is the ABT. I still throw that a lot. Now it's more of a handmade bait, resin bait, but I think they retail for $75.
Oh, wow.
So it's not terrible. And they get bit.
Yeah. Well, what people need to understand too with some of these baits, like say, is the action, but also how rare they are. Really.
Yeah.
'Cause, like some of these guys, they'll paint 20 of them.
Yeah.
And then sell them, and then they won't do another 20 until 2-3 months later. You know what I mean? Like,
I will say on the ABT, anything above 17-pound test kills that action. The only thing I've lovingly nicknamed this thing Stupid, because the only thing it does is a slow, steady retrieve. If you try to chop it, it'll blow out. If you speed it up, it'll blow out. It's just a slow, steady retrieve. But when they want that, they'll choke it.
Yeah. Yeah. We had Casey Starnes on here. There's your mom over there.
Yeah, she told you.
At Casey Starnes on, he was just asking about Chickamauga and how, you think those baits will do well on Chickamauga.
I know a lot of guys that throw swim baits on Chick. There's giant Florida strain bass all through that lake.
Yeah.
There's big gizzards. So, anywhere you've got big bait and big bass, it just makes sense,
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's crazy, man. Like I like to buy them, and then like you see them come up for sale and you're like, oh man, I'm gonna pull the trigger. And you're like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I
tell you, I was working a show, hanging out with a dealer at it was the Middle Tennessee fishing show. And this guy come up and he's like, man, what for starting out, what's your recommended glide bait? And for the money, now it is $200, but the Tato Eon Glide is the best starter bait in my opinion, even though it's $200.
Yeah.
But you can't mess it up. It's got a real good wide slow glide. You can burn it. You can twitch it. I mean, you can do all kinds of stuff with that you can't do with most. But Josh Heron is who's doing that, from Reaction Innovations.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. That's a nice looking bait too.
So,
And that's, and also, kind of getting back to it is, we was talking about the rod setup and all that. It's great for horsing and fish and good hook sets, but it's also big with the reaction of those baits.
yep.
Just as important as the line is that rod too, because you get too stiff of a rod, you're going to throw your action way off as well.
And I'll comment on the reels. So for the glides, I've gone to an 8-to-1 gear ratio. That's because if the wind's blowing or your boat's moving and you're chopping that bait with the reel handles, you can slow down, but it's hard to get a 5 or a 6 gear ratio to go faster.
Yeah. Yeah. Then you
So
feel
I
like you're just burning it.
Yeah. I like the 8. Not that I'm burning it necessarily, but you're working that bait with reel chops. And you bump it a quarter turn or a half turn and it'll cut. I mean, some of these baits you want to, like the HPH, that is a chopping bait to me.
Yeah.
The glide on it's real narrow. It's just, I don't prefer the glide on it, but I like the way it chops. And that's what makes some of these baits different. Just the things they do. The KGB Legend it's got a decent swim to it, but it chops really well. It's real responsive. Same thing as the Chad Shad. But you can kind of tell the baits that'll chop better. I mean, that folds all the way over versus a Depths 250.
Oh yeah.
That doesn't.
Yeah, it don't have that angle on it like the other ones.
That's gonna have a lot wider glide than something like that. But that'll be more responsive. So in that vein, that's the bull shad glide. Buka leaves the pin up, so you can pull that pin out and run those rings in. If you want a tighter glide or like a wider glide, you make that gap shorter. If you want it more responsive, choppier, you can run them out and increase the size of that gap. So like that right there, I've got set for a little wider glide.
Ah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I didn't even know you could do that with them.
Oh yeah.
I like that.
Yep.
Now, we talk about, we got everything else we covered, but I see some guys use snap rings and all. I mean, the clips. Do you use clips or you do straight tie?
It depends on the bait. I've been fortunate enough to get to know several of these bait makers to where you could just ask them, But like all the Mike Buka stuff, he recommends direct tie, and that's how he's designed the baits. That's how he prefers it, and other like Keith from Black Talon, direct tie on that. KGB, he says to direct tie. The paperweight, this is a Fish Everything paperweight. I think that works best with the snap. It just gives it a little more. I've run it with it and without it. And I mean, if you're trying to figure out what you like, just try both. Try split ring, try snap or direct tie, and it's whatever you think you like best with the action.
Yeah. It's crazy, the little things you can do to make that bait just get a little more action out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, or it can just totally destroy it.
It provides another pivot point. And on a glide bait, that's not necessarily a good thing. So like you've got that pivoting up here, and then you've got it pivoting back here.
Yeah.
So on some baits, it hurts the glide versus making it better. On the paperweight, for me, I've found it helps it. On the donk or something else like that, it doesn't help.
Yeah. Now, do you have any other like tricks and stuff like that? I see some guys they'll weight the hooks, they'll do all kinds of different odd things. Do you do anything different to get the depth out of them?
So I keep my swim bait terminal boxes. So I like And these baits are labeled like slow sink. Most of them are slow sink or extra slow sink. And that's great depending on the temperature or the humidity when that guy made this bait.
Haha.
All that goes into play with these resin handmade poured baits.
Talking about the water being denser and all that.
The water
stuff,
being
right?
denser. So the colder the water is, they might sink a little faster. You know, the warmer it is, they might float. So I use the they call them board weights, and you can stick. They just stick on the bottom.
Yeah.
But I carry, you know, the lead wire, stuff like that. But I've got my Spro little terminal box there. You can play with split rings. You can upsize the size of the split rings. You can put a little heavier hooks on them. You can add the board weights, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, that's a must with the swim baits.
Yeah.
Is being able to adjust the weights on the fly if you don't want to screw with the hooks and the weights or the hooks and the rings.
Got you. We got what water clarity do you look for when throwing glides? When would you make the call and put it down? Like, is there too muddy of water?
Yeah. I mean, if I would say like stain is okay. You know, like a foot of visibility is great. You know, if it's chocolate milk, probably not.
Yeah.
You know, when you're pulling out that Colorado blade chartreuse spinnerbait, it's probably better than a glide bait.
Yeah. They can actually see it and feel it coming.
Or that old school bus square bill or whatever, you know.
Yeah. So kind of off the topic a little bit. Now you've got a good buddy that you do a lot of fishing with, Aaron Lewis.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all kind of had a good bond now and going out. What's it like going out there fishing with a rock star, man? I mean, what do you talk about? What do you got to do with a rock star and talk about?
Fishing.
Just fishing.
It's easy to eat up with it, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eat up.
I know him and Ryan Lambert was good friends, or still are, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember he was
dumped when we met. No.
Yeah. And I know they were kayak fishing together, and then he's got a bass boat. Now he's got a bass boat that's just completely decked out, you know, with all the goods.
He's got everything on it. Yeah.
And I mean, man, that's cool to be able to have that opportunity to fish with him. Cause like I say, he's a very patriotic person. He loves fishing. It's just when I listened to his music back in the day, his rock music, you know, and you just never picture him being that kind of dude, you know what I mean? And then
I joke, but I'm like, man, he's just another dude looking for fishing spots. You know, like he's just like you or me. The first time we went together, I mean, you know, you're like, oh wow, you know, going with the rock star or whatever. But as soon as we got on the boat, I hook into a big one. I turn around, he's there with the net. I'm like, okay, this will work. Yeah, you know, and vice versa. So I mean, we've got to where we fish together as much as we can. Yeah. So no, that's cool, man. That's stuff like that. That's just, you know what I mean? Like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just cool. He's just an everyday dude, but for you know what I mean? For one of us, kind of starstruck at first, you know what I mean? I guess. I mean, I would be lying if I said I wasn't the first time, you know. Yeah. Second and third time, I'm like, he's just another guy. Yeah. You know. But he's a hammer. He can fish. I mean, and then since we got hooked up, that's all he wants to do is throw swim baits. Well, he's got the boat rigged out for it now, don't he? With the big old 16 and he's got 3 16s up front. He just had Brig at Hennessy put on 2 16 Apex up front and a Garmin 16-inch. He's got all 3 lives. Yeah, it's insane. Wow. You know, but he's got one on a turret, one on the trolling motor, so we each have our own life scope on the front. Yeah, that's crazy. It's insane. It's insane. We got another question here, Chris. You keep them rolling in, man, as they come in, and I'll ask you here in a minute if we got any more. But Richard wants to know: bluff walls or standing timber? What's the best big bass on Table Rock? What's best for big bass on Table Rock? Man, I've never fished Table Rock, but I mean, swim baits work great on brush piles and bluff walls.
Yeah.
I don't have as much experience fishing bluff walls as some other people I know. But the brush pile thing, like I've really learned a lot about that here this past summer. And if I had to pick one, I would pick brush piles.
Yeah. That way you can scope them. You can take your bait right over top of them. And you know what I mean? Like they're kind of congregated to that one area instead of a bluff wall where they're everywhere. You know what I mean? Somebody said garage still not finished.
No, but I've acquired some new banners, and
there you go.
Yeah.
You just picked up your new boat. What, a month ago, 2 months ago?
No, the build date is October 3rd. I hadn't got it yet.
Oh, I thought you got your new boat. I seen pictures. I thought you had your new boat.
No, that was the build it on Skeeter.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Are you still have you found anybody to buy that one, or what?
This one's been sold since the day I ordered it.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, is your other one sold already?
Yeah.
God dang. See, that's
the only reason you see red in a boat of mine, it means it's sold.
Oh, because somebody picked that color out.
Yeah.
No, that's cool, man. That's awesome, man. It's cool to get you on here and talk different baits, and you're not obligated to one brand. You know what I mean? And you've thrown so many different baits and so many different setups, and I like that. That's what I like about you, because you try everything. You know,
man, my goal getting into the big baits was I went out and I would make a list of all the hype baits everybody was talking about, and I went out and tried to find those baits. Piz, for example, I mean, they're highly sought after. You can't find them. I wasn't a big fan of how they swam. The one or two that I had. Now you can't speak for the whole thing.
Yeah.
But the bait I had was real like blocky and mechanical, and I didn't care for it. You'll never really lose money. If you buy a high-end swim bait, there's always somebody that'll buy it, So I mean, you see me selling stuff all the time and it's gone in seconds.
Yeah. It don't last long. Like Swimbait Underground is a good place to go, like finding these baits.
I love it. Yeah.
I mean, them guys, and it's some really knowledgeable people on there too. You got to be careful, because I have seen a few guys getting scammed, but you just got to pay attention.
There's feedback ratings on there. There's, you can vet people. I mean, some of the Facebook groups, you'll see guys asking, for references and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, you can get scammed on there, but just don't be dumb.
Yeah. Take your time.
Yeah.
Take your time, but hurry up, because the bait could be gone before.
Yeah. But I mean, you can see the difference between a trusted seller or a guy that's got a lot of positive feedback and all that.
Yeah. No, I think me and James will start looking pretty hard this winter at more of them. Now that we're kind of getting into it more and settling in. Now we got our boats set up. Now we're ready.
All the new Ranger looks good.
Yeah, man, I've loved it so far. I mean, I've always had a fiberglass boat. I've had a Skeeter too. And then when we got into kayaking, I got out of my fiberglass and ended up getting my dad's boat for a while. And then we got the Rangers, and really happy with them. We're still breaking them in. That's the most painful thing I've ever done in my life. But
yeah, that the one downside to my deal is you do it every year.
Yeah. That's tough.
I can't complain though.
No, I wouldn't complain at all either. I mean, if I had to go out and ride the boat around for a little while, like I got in another day and I'm like, all right, I'm going to put in at this ramp and I'm going to go all the way down and go all the way back in Blackwater. I ain't going to fish. That's my problem. Like if I could just run there and run back and put the hours on, I'd be good. But then I'm like, oh man, look at that spot. I got to go over and fish that, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I should have put 2 hours on my boat today. God darn, I only put an hour on my boat today.
Oh yeah.
We got another question here. When do you use a mag draft over a glide bait?
So they're two totally different baits. But the glide for me, well, let me back up. So the mag draft, you can count it down. The Osprey is a heavier bait. So the difference between the Osprey and the mag draft for me, the mag draft is a lot slower sink, so you tend to throw it a little shallower or higher in the column. Now you can count it down, that's fine, but it's gonna want to rise up. The glide, typically a slower presentation. Just, I mean, he'll throw both, see what they respond best to, I mean, I'll keep, in the winter, I'll have a mag draft or a line through and a glide bait tied on. I mean, multiple sometimes.
Yeah.
So in one cast, you might see one that you want to fire out there and count it down and reel it past it. The next, if they're up in the column and you see them feeding on bait, then throw a glide bait at them. I mean, that same fish might eat both.
Yeah. And I mean, that's just kind of like, with any other bait, you just never know. You can pull up on one spot and he'll hit this bait on a drop shot. And then you got to go over here and you got to throw a green pumpkin because they ain't hitting the one. He just went over, like that's,
Yeah.
I normally have 2 or 3 on those days, and that's the same thing with what you're doing there is you got to keep throwing until you find out what they want.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of these guys that are swim baiters now, they didn't tournament fish or grow up fishing, and it's, and to think that, you're going to get this bait in the mail today and you're going to go out and put the time in on just that. And you see these guys talk about, man, I put in my time and I've thrown this bait every day for 3 months and finally got a bite on it. That ain't me.
Yeah.
Like there's a time and a place if this really, really excels. But I mean, I've got 7 rods with different baits tied on and I'm cutting them off and changing colors. And that's another thing with swim bait guys. They don't look at colors as well. And so like your crankbait box, my crankbait box, I can't tell you how many Little Johns I've got with all the different colors, But like that's a big crankbait. But I threw both of those yesterday at different times, because you might have more cloud cover or whatever. I mean, I think it matters. Same as it would with a crankbait, but that's my background, Yeah. The more traditional tournament style fishing, and that really, to me, it really helps with this, as opposed to the guys that don't have that experience. So, I mean, if you think about it, it's the same thing you do with a square bill or a spinner bait or a jerk bait or whatever, when you're deciding what to throw where.
Yeah. And we got one more question for you, and then we'll let you get going, man, because we've been on here for a while. But what's your prime conditions for glides?
I mean, I've always got one tied on, but
every day's prime conditions.
Every day, yeah. I mean, in the winter, it seems like the bluebird days are better, and then in the summer, it seems like the cloudier days are better. Little wind. Now, and lakes are different. Smith Mountain, I've heard that you have to have some wind and clouds to get bit on anything like that, glide bait or mag draft or whatever. Yeah. Here, some of my best days have been bluebird and dead calm. So you'll probably need to count it down a little further, to get bit if it's dead calm. But it's fishing. I mean, there's no hard and fast rule book.
Yeah, it's just figuring it out, and like I say, each lake's so different, man. Like I know. Shoot, you got Bugs Island that's 2 hours from here that is a phenomenal fishery as well, but it's a whole different lake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not a clear lake like Smith is. And you got Gaston, which is right below Bugs, that fish is totally different. So
yeah,
each reservoir, each lake is going to be so different. It's just one of the things and when it comes to fishing, you have to experiment. You can get led in the right direction to get started. But after that, it's up to you to kind of put your pattern together.
Yeah, and it's what suits you best. I mean, the reason to have all of these different baits is they all do something a little different. And it might be great for your style, and I might not like it, or vice versa. But I like the variety. These are, phony frog. So that's the phony shad. And then that's the phony shiner. 2 different baits. Other than the profile, I mean, this one's got a real wide, glide, slower, a little more mechanical than this, which is more fluid. Both great baits, but I mean, having a selection and figuring out what you like is is kind of the route I've taken.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Heck yeah. I was going to get away with it, but I did see one question here that intrigued me, and I just want to ask you this, and it's probably a quick answer. They want to know if you could go over the preference for rod handle lengths. Like, you got some of them rods that's got real long handles and.
Yes. So, and it varies from manufacturer to manufacturer. The Dobbins, like starting out, the Dobbins are great rods. Their handles are a little shorter than, say, the Leviathan. I mean, that's a long handle, which is probably, and I'm going to misquote this, but it might be 18 to 20 inches.
Yeah.
It is an adjustment, to cast, but you've got that there because you're casting these heavier baits, and it's not, firing a crankbait over your head. I mean, you're lobbing them to the side, and it's more of a powerful pitch, or a lob. And so the length of the handle helps there. And then the biggest thing, because I recently switched to the Leviathan, coming out around your belly to go in, that takes a little getting used to. But then you can tuck that up under your arm and get all the leverage you need.
Yeah.
But that's kind of personal preference, and there's a little bit of a learning curve there, getting used to it.
Yeah. That would be my hardest part. Is like, I know I'd hit that big belly of mine every time coming around. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Now the soft bait rod is a little shorter, and I think more of that is because you can still lob it, but you can cast these kind of overhand too.
Yeah.
On a Citizen or a Mag Draft or something like that. So you don't need all that length. Now, it's still long enough to put up under your arm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a swim bait thing, man. Those guys like the long handles.
Yeah. It's crazy. We've looked at different rods, and I've played with, I got some Falcon rods that we've played with that I think are okay, but I think I need an adjustment with my glide baits. I don't think it, like I was using an Almstead rod, which I don't think it has enough parabolic movement in it. You know what I mean? Like, it feels more like it's just a big rod. You know what I mean? Like, it's a heavy rod.
There's some companies, and I'm not extremely familiar with Falcon, but I mean, there's some companies that just don't make swim bait rods.
Yeah.
Call it what it is.
Yeah. And it's right. I mean, they don't have a good swim bait rod. It's just they're Carolina rig rods, or jerk bait rods, or the basic rods that you would see out there. Right?
Yeah. And they're great at what they do.
Yeah.
But those guys might not be throwing swim baits, so they don't know, so in my opinion, just be careful if you're looking to buy a swim bait rod. Buy one from a swim bait guy, Yeah. And make sure it's not just a flipping rod with a longer butt.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. So, last question here, and I promise you this is it. This was just a funny one. It says, if Byron was a fish, what kind of fish would he be, and what bait would he be hitting every time?
Man, I would be the biggest. I don't know. That's a good question. I'd be caught a lot, though. I would be really easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I'd be the stupid one that would probably never make it to 3 pounds.
Yeah.
Because I'd be done choked a shaky head some kid was throwing out there with his dad. You know what I mean? And then I'm like, oh, man, that looks good. Because every time I throw a shaky head out, I'm like, dang, look at that thing. It looks good in water.
Yeah.
So that'd be me.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. I mean, if you're going to get big and fat, you got to be wise. And I don't know that I got both of those going.
Oh, man. Well, Byron, man, I really appreciate you taking the time to join us tonight and talk swim baits and glide baits. It's a lot of information that you give out, and I hope that we were able to help a lot of you guys that were watching. It's a hot topic right now, and there's so much information out there.
So much to it. I mean, and we didn't even scratch the surface hardly. We just kind of spitballing, but
yeah, I mean, you could really dig into it. I mean, this conversation could go on for weeks of how to make this change, how to make that change, when you should make that change, but all that comes with time on the water. You know what I mean? and what works best for you. What you're doing might not work best for me where in the lake I'm at, so it's making those adjustments. Them guys in California has been doing that stuff for a long time. Some of it will work here. Some of it, you got to make some changes to make it happen here.
Yeah.
So, but I do appreciate you taking the time. I appreciate, working with you guys and Missile Baits and how awesome you guys have been when we got questions and all that stuff. So
Now
I'm
we
sure
appreciate you guys.
I'm sure you're probably going to get hit up some more on questions now that everybody knows kind of who you are and what you're doing. So,
No, that's fine.
but yeah, I'll probably be getting with you and figuring out some more glide baits to be getting here soon. I know me and James are in the market now, so if we can just get in the right timing and get one of them.
Yeah. Let me know. I might could help you.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it, Byron. You have a good night, man, and look forward to talking to you here in the future.
All right, dude. I appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy. See you.
See you.
All right. That was a good conversation there, Chris. I know you're getting it coming up. I just realized I hit on the comment button over here, and I just seen that, and I was like, "Oh man, I got to ask that question right there." I kept saying this is gonna be the last one. It's like fishing, this is gonna be the
last cast, the last question, kind of the same thing, basically.
My daughter gives me hell about that right now. The last cast,
I'm
like, all right, babe, because they love going, they love riding in the boat.
Yeah,
So I'm like,
one more cast, 35 casts ago.
yeah. I'm like, man, that dock pole. I bet you there's one on that dock pole right there. Let's roll down here real quick.
Yeah,
so,
it's always one there.
Yeah. So, but no, it was great to have Byron on. I like these guys that are a little under the radar. I like having some of the big names on there, but I like having these guys that are under the radar. But if you follow Swimbait Underground, you'll see that he's not low key really. He catches some really nice fish. Go check out Byron on his Instagram page and Facebook and all that stuff. He's got some great pictures of some big fish. And like I say, I think it was yesterday, they caught like 30 some pounds, man, of largemouth. That's just, that's crazy. I wish we could have a day like I love to have a dirty 30 on Smith, I swear I've seen the fish to do it. You know what I mean? But you can never make those ones bite that you see like that ever. And if you do, most of the time your line breaks, and then you got that story like you lost the PB, and same story everybody else got. So but now we're just kind of getting into the big swim baits and the glide baits. And like I say, when we're talking about spending money, like I showed earlier, the Trace from 6 Cents, we plan on stocking some of these here soon on our website. That's like a $35 bait or something, like $35, $40 bait. It's expensive bait for a lot of people that don't like to spend that kind of money. You know what I mean? It's expensive bait for us, but it's a manufactured bait that they just sent a bunch of them down assembly line. It's a manufactured bait. I say assembly line. I don't know the whole process, but I know these baits are made quicker than these $250, $250 baits, because like I was talking with Byron, a lot of those baits, them guys they'll do a thing like, hey, I made 10 of these. They're going to go up on my website here in 5 minutes. And like Byron said, if you don't have your information already put in when it goes up, you missed it.
Oh yeah. And
then they'll turn around, and some of these guys will buy them. Some of them are collectors. They just like to buy them to have. And then some guys will get them and turn around and sell them for $50, $60 more, $100 more. But they'll wait and hold on to it for a while when a guy ain't got none, and people have been waiting, and they'll put them up there. But we got a few of those. It was another bait I picked up. This was down there in Texas. We bought this one. This one's 316. This is just like a big swim bait, man. Never really actually threw it. It's a hitch color. I normally keep a lot of my stuff natural, but like say, I don't know a lot about it. This is the Baco burrito baits. This is a heavy bait. What does this one weigh? Does it even say on here?
Where'd you get that one from?
This is burrito, but it's Bull Shad's the burrito, Baco burrito, whatever.
Where'd you buy that? I've never heard of this.
I think we bought this from Hog Farmer website.
Okay.
I think is where we bought it off of. So it looks like I like that price. Yeah. I mean, I will say, like, I was throwing this the other day when I first took it out, and I was messing with the live scope, and I panned out, and I'm looking at about 80 feet, 100 feet, something like that. And I had one just shoot up to the top to it and look at it and never hit it. and the spot was a lot bigger than my bait. So I knew it was a bigger fish, whether it's a striper or what, I don't know. But it was a lot of times a striper will hammer it. So I want to say it's a bass, but that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say it was a 10-pounder. But anyways, he looked at it but never got it. And I feel like the trace for the guys that are getting into it now, you can go buy the big baits like Byron was talking about and the setups and all that stuff. But I feel like this is a lot easier bait to get a good setup for and get into the whole glide bait range cheaper. Now, like say, if you're ready to spend some money and you got the time to be on social media and you're ready to go, just ready to pounce on one of those baits and do it. I'm not saying don't do that, because I would love to be able to do that. But getting into it, if I lose this bait in a brush pile down in 20 foot of water, I'm going to be a little sick, yes, but I'm not going to throw up in chummy water like it would if I lost a $250 bait. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to load the boat up and go home.
Oh, God.
But he said, what type of rod would you throw on that? I think I was throwing what do I got? A Sam Rayburn Special Falcon rod. That one actually has a good amount of backbone, and it's got a good fast tip on it. It's a little more parabolic. I said to Amistad earlier, that rod's a little too heavy. But I mean, I've seen some people talk about these right here that they were actually throwing them on like a medium heavy rod, which is kind of odd to me, because it just depends on what rod you have. Because like a Falcon medium heavy to me feels lighter than like an Abu Garcia medium heavy. You know what I mean? He said I have a 4 and a 5-inch, but never throw it. Yeah, I mean, I've been throwing these more. To me, this right here is kind of one of those deals like when I learned how to jig fish. When me and James was learning how to catch fish on jigs, is all we took out was a box of jigs and a box of trailers. I didn't take no Texas rigs. I didn't take no crankbaits, no spinner baits. I didn't take none of that stuff except jigs. And I played around with different color jigs until I found the color I liked, until the trailer I found I liked. And I had about 3 or 4 different rods that I tied them on, trying different rods, until I figured out what I liked to throw the jig on, but also until I built the confidence up in it. And so now I've caught a few fish in the boat. I've played with live scope enough. Now I just want to take these out and throw them. Like, I want to buy a couple more different colors in this trace. I think I got 2 different colors in that. And then I got the other 6 cents one. It's like $20. But Milliken Fishing did a video the other day on how to alter that bait to get more of that cut out of the bait, like Byron was talking about. Now this one's got several spots on it where it's linked, but the other one, I can't think of the name of the 6 cents bait, but it's their cheaper glide bait, but it only turns like that. And Milliken went in and cut out some of that with a Dremel tool, and it made the bait look really good. It really did. So if you get a chance, go check out that video. It was pretty good. But like I say, that's basically, and like I love throwing the mag draft on Smith Mountain. That's my go-to spring. I'm probably gonna throw this a little bit more through the winter and all that.
Still can't find that color.
You can't find that?
I didn't look at several Bass Pro shops.
I'm gonna get you. Well, that's why Bass Pro don't carry nothing anymore. I still go to every Bass Pro.
I guess I have to. I just need to order it if I want.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I would. Flow glider. That's what the other one's called. Ryan was talking about flow glider. And that's a cheap little bait to get into it. I mean, it runs okay. I put them in the pool and tested them out and all that. And I got a few other bigger baits that I got that I've tried, and I still ain't caught shit on none of them though. You know what I mean? I'm trying really hard to catch one off of it. I've caught them off the mag drive, but I can't catch them off the glide bait. So, but anyways, yeah. So I hope that helped you guys out with this whole glide bait special, and if you guys got any other techniques that you guys are like really interested in wanting an in-depth segment on, let us know. You can comment on Facebook. You can comment down here below. I mean, just let us know what other techniques you guys are interested in. I mean, I know what we throw. We're kind of versatile when it comes to like, Carolina rigs and drop shots, shaky heads, Texas rigs, jigs, all crankbaits, all that stuff. But you always want to learn more. And so we've been trying to learn this glide bait stuff. So I thought it'd be a great show. And it was with Byron. He was a great guest. So But if you guys got anything else that you want to like know about, like really want to like learn something and go in depth about, let me know. We'll do what we can to get a good guest on to go in and cover this. So, but like I say, it was a good show. Had a good time. Chris, I'm glad that we was able to finally get together and talk.
Yeah, it was a good time.
I ain't seen your face in forever, man.
Except on Snapchat.
Yeah, on Snapchat. That's about it. So, but yeah, so like I said, you guys that are tuning in, if you want to go back and listen to this show on a podcast, we're gonna have it up to should have it up tomorrow. I just got to go through and edit a little bit, make the sound quality a little bit better for iTunes and all that stuff. But what I was getting at was for some reason our stuff hasn't been going to iTunes. We're still working on that. But we are on iHeartRadio, we're on Stitcher, we're on Podbean, we're all the other platforms. I think Google Play, all that stuff. We're there. So just go check us out there. Hopefully soon for you guys that listen on iTunes, we'll have it up there soon. But I don't know when that's going to happen. It's like pulling teeth. I hate when I call a company and I cannot get someone to talk to. It's these little boxes on the side. Chat now. Let's work the problem out or whatever.
Yeah, talk with the robot or whatever. And it has a predetermined amount of answers to give you.
Yeah, did this help? No, it did not. I went through that and I'm like, I want customer service number. Right now, we do not have a customer service number. I'm like, how do you not have a damn phone number? Like how does people talk to anybody?
Can you still do the old keep hitting zero trick until?
No, I don't even have a phone number to call. Like I don't even know what to call.
Oh, so you're on the computer doing it.
Yeah, like I'm going there like, hey man, we get down the bottom like technical support.
Oh yeah, okay. I thought maybe
they
had like a number or something, like just some random number you could call that.
No,
you could just like keep hitting zero until you got an operator.
Until you got somebody. No, I don't even have a number to call to hit zero.
No.
That's what makes you mad. And it's two different platforms that I'm going from and going to, that don't. So, anyways.
Yeah, they don't want to talk to you.
No, anybody want to talk to nobody. I think COVID ruined all that. But, anyways, guys, I had a good time talking with all y'all tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show. We're going to leave for Pickwick here in about 2 weeks, I think it is, for the Bassmaster Bass Federation Nation Kayak Bass. I can't get the daggone name right. It's too late. But anyways, this is for Bassmasters Kayak Series tournament. We're going to go fish that Lake Pickwick. Really excited about that. I'm right there at qualifying for the Classic. I don't know what's going to happen. If I was able to make the other events, I feel like I probably could have qualified. But I don't know, man. It's been my luck this year. I've been right here on everything this year. Right there. And it just doesn't happen. So, I do feel like I didn't even get to talk about maybe I'll say it for the next show. We didn't even get to talk about our trip to Wolf and Fox. I had a good event up there. That's my best event this year, I think. Well, except for Fork, that wasn't a bad event either. But I think I ended up having a top 30 finish, like 28th or something like that. I finished up there at Wolf and Fox. Something I can't even remember what it was now. But it was fun, man. I was on a good chatterbait bite. So, but anyways, I think we're talking about getting back, and I talked about this in the last show, getting back into the Tuesday night shows, possibly, when things slow down a little bit for us. So hopefully we might be able to get back into that and do 2 of these shows.
Tackle Talk or whatever y'all call it.
Yeah, Tuesday. So that's what our plan is. I don't know how well it's going to go, but I'm going to tomorrow I'm going to set up a next show for next Sunday, because Chris, you're not going to be out of town, right? Next weekend.
This coming up weekend, no, I will be home, so we can do something.
So maybe we can try to get another show in and get maybe another amazing guest on. So
yeah.
But other than that, guys, I want to thank y'all for tuning in tonight. I had a really good time talking with y'all. I hope y'all enjoy your week. Enjoy your weekend. Fall fishing is starting to ramp up. We're starting to get them cool nights. So if you got some pictures, tag us on Instagram. We love to see them, whether you're in a kayak, bass boat, or on the bank. I don't care. We just love bass fishing. Also, go check out our webpage, OneObjectiveBF.com, for all your kayak accessory needs. We got tackle on there. We're getting into the bass boat side. We come out with a new graph mount for the Ranger 198Ps, and I think it's 177 all the way up through, or 178 all the way up through the 198s. So go check that out. And then also we have a OneObjective group page on Facebook where we just get in to share fishing pictures. It's no drama. It's no bashing one another, nothing like that. It's just a good, fun place to go and just share some fish pictures. You know what I mean? So make sure you go check that out and get signed up. But other than that, we'll talk to you guys later. Have a great weekend. See you.